Picture this. You're standing right in front of two identical playground swings. I mean, everything about them is exactly the same. Same chains, same seats. But on one swing, there's a small kid, maybe about 10 kilograms. On the other swing, you've got a full-grown adult weighing in at 100 kilograms. Now, if you pull them both back to the exact same angle and let them go at the exact same split second, which one's going to swing faster? Does the heavier adult fly forward quicker because gravity pulls them harder, or does the lighter kid swing faster because, well, there's just less weight to move around?
Go ahead and lock your answer in. Seriously, pick one. Because the reality of what happens here is literally one of the most brilliant, counterintuitive tricks in all of physics.
By the end of this explainer, we're going to completely master the hidden mechanics of pendulums. You'll understand the invisible forces at play, the incredibly elegant formula that runs the whole show, and exactly why that playground swing question is actually a massive trick. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so to crack this playground mystery, we first got to define exactly what we're looking at. In the physics world, we call this a simple pendulum. Basically, it's just an object with a small mass, which we lovingly call the pendulum bob, hanging from a light wire or string. Now, for the math to work perfectly, we assume the string itself weighs basically nothing and won't stretch out. You actually see these things everywhere. The little moving part in an antique cuckoo clock, a sinker dropping on a fishing line, and yeah, that playground swing is a pretty perfect real-world example.
Now, let's map out the invisible forces acting on that little bob when you pull it back. There are really two main actors on this stage. First, you've got gravity, which is just relentlessly pulling the bob straight down toward the center of the Earth. Second, you have the tension in the string, which is pulling back up toward the pivot point at the top. Because gravity is pulling straight down, part of its force is fighting against the string, and the other part is actively pushing the bob along its curved, swooping path. The tension in the string exactly cancels out the gravity pulling against it, so what you're left with is this net force pushing the bob back down the arc. We call this the restoring force. Why? Because it desperately wants to restore the bob back to its resting point at the very bottom. So, if we write this out mathematically, the restoring force equals negative mass times gravity times the sine of theta. Theta is just our angle of the swing. And that negative sign, it's just there because the force is always pushing in the exact opposite direction of where the bob is. You pull it to the right, the force pushes left. You pull it left, the force shoves it right. But we run into a bit of a problem here. Calculating the sine of an angle constantly as a bob swings back and forth creates some really messy, chaotic math.
Wait, hold up. This is actually incredibly important. For a system to be considered a simple harmonic oscillator, think of like a perfect, predictable spring just bouncing up and down. The restoring force has to be directly proportional to the displacement. It has to be a clean relationship. But our pendulum has that messy sine of theta jammed in there. It's dealing with angles, not a simple straight line. So how in the world do we simplify this to prove our pendulum behaves perfectly?
Well, this brings us to what I like to call a mathematical magic trick. It's known as the small angle approximation. Check this out. If you keep the angle of the swing pretty small, specifically under about 15 degrees, the sine of the angle and the angle itself are practically identical. I mean, they differ by less than 1%. So, for any small swings under 15 degrees, we can literally just drop the word sine out of our equation entirely. That complex force of negative mg sine theta beautifully simplifies into just negative mg theta.
Let's piece this all together and build our final proof. From basic geometry, we know that the arc length of the swing, we'll just call it S, equals the length of the string, L, times the angle theta. If we just shuffle that around, theta equals S divided by L. Now, plug that into our newly simplified force equation, and boom, we get our final form. The restoring force equals negative mg divided by L, all multiplied by S. Look at that. The force is directly proportional to the displacement, S. Because of this elegant little trick, as long as you don't swing it too high, keep it under 15 degrees, a simple pendulum is officially a perfect simple harmonic oscillator.
And because it behaves so perfectly under those conditions, we get to use its most famous equation. This right here is the formula for the period of a simple pendulum. The period is just the exact amount of time it takes to complete one full back and forth swing. So, period, which is a capital T, equals 2 times pi multiplied by the square root of the length of the pendulum divided by the acceleration due to gravity.
But, hang on a second. Look closely at those variables. Do you notice anything missing? Look at the formula again. T is time, L is length, lowercase g is gravity. There is absolutely no m for mass anywhere in this entire formula.
This is the huge takeaway. The mass completely cancels out. The period of a simple pendulum doesn't care at all about how heavy the bob is. And this brings us right back to our opening puzzle, doesn't it? The 10-kilogram kid and the 100-kilogram adult on the swings. Which one swings faster? The answer is neither. Because the swing chains are the exact same length and they're both sitting right here in Earth's gravity, they're going to swing back and forth at the exact same rate. Seriously, you could put a feather on one swing and a bowling ball on the other. As long as wind resistance isn't messing with you and the angle is small, their timing is going to match perfectly.
Now think about what this actually means. If the timing of a pendulum is totally blind to mass, it means the pendulum is effectively a pure, uncorrupted sensor for only two things: length and gravity. So, if we know the length of our string with absolute, perfect certainty, couldn't we use a pendulum to literally map the hidden gravity fields of the Earth?
The answer is absolutely yes. And doing it just requires a tiny bit of algebra. We start with our golden period formula. T equals 2 pi times the square root of L over G. First thing we do, we square both sides to get rid of that pesky square root. That gives us T squared equals 4 pi squared times L over G. Then we just isolate gravity. Lowercase g equals 4 pi squared times L, divided by T squared. With just a quick rearrangement, a simple piece of string and a decent stopwatch suddenly become a highly precise scientific instrument.
To give you an idea of how precise this gets, let's look at an actual calculation. Imagine we measure our pendulum's length out to 5 digits of precision, exactly 0.75000 meters. Then we time its period with incredible accuracy, getting 1.7357 seconds. We plug those numbers into our new gravity formula, and we calculate the local gravity to be exactly 9.8281 meters per second squared. Now, to get this kind of 5-digit precision in the real world, you have to be super careful. Your swing angle has to be tiny, like less than half a degree, just to make absolutely sure the small angle approximation doesn't warp your math.
Now, why does this actually matter outside of a classroom? It's massive. You see, gravity isn't a perfect 9.80 everywhere on Earth. It fluctuates slightly depending on the density of whatever is buried deep beneath your feet. Geologists actually use these tiny, super precise local gravity variations measured by incredibly advanced pendulums to study shifting tectonic plates or search for massive underground oil fields and even locate billion-dollar mineral deposits. It is quite literally physics paying off.
Okay, but what if we push this concept to the absolute extreme? Let's say you have this beautiful, perfectly accurate antique pendulum clock. What happens if you pack that clock onto a rocket ship and fly it all the way to the moon?
Let's look at the numbers. Here on Earth, gravity is a robust 9.80 meters per second squared, and your clock keeps perfect time. But up on the moon, gravity is weak. We're talking just 1.63 meters per second squared. Think back to our formula. Gravity is in the denominator. It's at the bottom of the fraction. So if gravity drops massively, the period, the time it takes for one single swing, shoots way up. Your clock on the moon would run agonizingly slow. If you run the actual math, it would be slow by a factor of 2.45, meaning an hour hand that takes exactly 60 minutes to go around on Earth would take almost 2.5 hours to do the same thing on the moon.
You know, you don't even have to go to the moon to test this stuff out. You can literally do this in your room today. Just cut about 1 meter of string, or honestly, even dental floss works. Tie something small and dense to the end, like a heavy metal nut or a car key. Pull it back just a tiny bit. Keep it under 10 degrees so our math stays pure. Let it swing and use your phone's stopwatch to time exactly 10 full back and forth swings. Take that total time, divide it by 10, and you've got your period, T. Measure your string to get L, plug those into the formula, and boom, you've just calculated the acceleration of gravity in your own room. You literally become the scientist.
All right, let's quickly recap what we've covered today so it really sticks. Number 1, as long as the swing is kept under 15 degrees, pendulums behave beautifully as simple harmonic oscillators, all thanks to the small angle approximation. Number 2, your golden formula is T equals 2 pi times the square root of L over G. And finally, never forget the playground swings. The period of the swing is 100% independent of the mass. Mass cancels out entirely.
I'm going to leave you with one final brain teaser. Imagine you take that perfect antique pendulum clock and you move to a brand new city. But in this new city, the local gravity is just slightly stronger. Because gravity is higher, the pendulum swings a tiny bit faster, and your clock starts gaining time. It's running too fast. To fix the clock and get it ticking perfectly again, do you need to lengthen the pendulum or shorten it? Think about where length and gravity sit in that equation. I'll let you chew on